Welcome to Lynn's Warriors. Today we step into one of the most urgent battlegrounds of our time, the invisible war for digital safety, privacy, and control. As technology races ahead, so do the threats. More sophisticated, more relentless, and often hiding right in front of us in plain sight. So joining us today is Nicolas Moy, a principal security engineer specializing in AI, security, software security, and governance, risk, and compliance. He stands at the front lines of this evolving so quickly landscape every day where innovation meets vulnerability and where stakes could not be higher. So if you've ever wondered who is protecting your data, who is watching the algorithms, who is holding these systems accountable, you're about to get some answers. So you can follow Nick on nicolasmoy.com and LinkedIn. You can sign up for his newsletter. He's got a YouTube channel. We'll have all of Nick's information in the body of this video. But you're going to learn today how to stay safer online. So let's get to it. Welcome, Nick, to the Warriors.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Lynn. Excited to be here.
I want you, Nick, to explain to us what exactly cybersecurity is. Let's start with this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So cybersecurity at the end of the day is the technical science of protecting people, but digitally through the internet, through applications, through, the data that we are so engulfed in online now. I mean, our banking's online, everything's on our phone and our computer, and cybersecurity is that practice of protecting that information and protecting you and I from the harms and the threats that are out there online. So,
yeah. Oh, this is a big one, a big nut to crack, Nick. I have so many questions for you, but I was just thinking of something as you were saying, describing to us what cybersecurity is. As this technology has evolved over the decades, what can you fill us in? Like, why didn't they, as a companion piece, also have the security in place? Because the law seems to always be lagging behind technology. Do you have any insight into why this is? Because now in 2026, it really does seem like a runaway train where our whole lives are online, on apps, our kids, right? Our future, adults, American leaders. Where was the disconnect there? Can you weigh in on any of that?
Yeah, no. So the hard truth is that technology innovates faster than policymakers can write their laws and agree to things, right? And we all know that the government can take quite a bit of time sometimes to make change happen and really implement it, and then to see those changes actually being rolled out to the real world, that also takes time as well. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for these things to be agreed upon and for the safety controls to be implemented and stuff like that, technology's already moved on. It's already innovated, especially in this era of AI where things are being released, new LLM models, new software applications, new capabilities of what these AI tools are able to do. I mean, it's being released on a monthly basis, if not, every 2 weeks or so. So it's difficult to keep up with the pace of how fast things are moving.
Yeah. And Nick, I feel like every day I'm
Yeah.
seeing something, whether it's an app, I don't know, something gaming. We work a lot with parents and families and things like that. And it's really tough for our warriors, for our public to keep up with all of this. But I want to focus right now. I think the most important thing is, see if you agree with me, is this AI, this artificial intelligence that even now on my Facebook, it says, do you want me to create the post in AI? It seems it's on every Zoom, an AI companion. It seems if you want to order something online, I see the AI, we got this, we got that, we got a bot answering customer service questions. We've had that for a while though, actually. But what is this? Describe this changing landscape, because although AI has technically, and correct me if I'm wrong, sort of been around, right? We've kind of had like those customer service bots. I know that's very, basic, answering questions, but I feel like, Nick, in the last year, it's like really thrown at the public and just a deluge of all this AI. But how is this changing the landscape for cyber attacks and defense at the same time? Because I really think, I know I'm throwing a lot at you. We're talking about all this and safety and kids and families, but this is really overall a national security threat if you break all of this down. So what about this AI and all this? Yeah.
I mean, if we look at some of the reality points here in AI development, trillions of dollars are being invested in AI because of what the potential it can be for the good that's there, right? And there are definite harms that go along with that, because in the cybersecurity community as a whole, we're still trying to figure out how is this whole thing actually being implemented. All different organizations, they're rolling it out in different capabilities, as you mentioned, chat bots, video bots. I mean, ability to generate AI-based images or posts in social media. They're just leveraging it in so many different capacities now that every single initiative or every single project where they're implementing artificial intelligence leads to a new set of security vulnerabilities, a new set of safety concerns and issues for different users that are interacting with these AI tools and whatnot. And the cybersecurity community is pulling that together and looking at the vast number of things and saying, how can we secure the people? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters, is how do we secure the people that are using that. And when you think about databases and third-party integrations with other applications and what have you, it gets very complex very quickly. And so new frameworks are being rolled out at the federal level here with new security recommendations on what organizations can implement. And then if you think about what AI does, or what it is at its core, it's really software, right? It's very complex software that has a form of intelligence, if you will, and a lot of data sets that it's been trained off of. And so the security community that deals with software is also rolling out their own set of recommendations. But as you and I speak, scientists are currently trying to figure out what those guardrails are, what those hard-pressed security recommendations are. And that's a tricky thing when the thing that they're trying to protect is evolving on a day-to-day basis as well. So that target continues to move.
Yeah, I feel like, well, let me ask you right now, who's actually responsible for AI and any of the harms? We already see harms, from it, right? And we'll see a
Yeah.
lot more basically. But who's responsible for these systems if they make a critical mistake? Let me break it down a little bit.
Sure.
So AI, where does it get the information, Nick? It scrapes the internet, correct?
It can scrape the internet. Initially, when we think about 2022, when AI was starting to be released out into the public and beta and kind of evolved into open public over time, 2023, 2024, AI was given trained data sets with limited knowledge to really just train off of, right? To read and digest and interact with these beta groups of users that were engaging with these AI systems. And then as OpenAI launched this out to the public, now we've got millions of people interacting with it. And how AI really works is that it's listening to the input that is given and is being corrected in real time as it will research its source of data sets, these massive data warehouses and databases filled with all different types of information, and will spit out a response to the end user that's engaging with it. And if that response is incorrect, the user is going to correct it and say, actually, ChatGPT, that's not right. Can you spit this out differently? And so it's going to go ahead and digest it, and it's going to correct itself. And that's kind of the tricky thing about AI too, is that it is getting smarter day by day as it interacts with more and more people over a longer period of time. So
you're saying anybody's, let's use ChatGPT, because I feel like that was unleashed.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, a couple of years ago, and everybody was loving it and using it for, oh, it's saving me time writing emails. It's saving me time doing this. And okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But I have to just share with you recently, a family member of mine, and I heard it for myself, was asking questions about me. And it all sounded great. Lynn Shaw, Lynn's Warriors. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. At the very end, it said, Lynn Shaw died in December 2025. That's how it ended.
Wow.
And this person was horrified.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, obviously, I think it's making a mistake and confusing me maybe with another Lynn Shaw. So we went back in, and I'm correcting it. I have to check today, but it was still saying I died in December 2025. So I'm not sure what that's about. It did have a sentence that said something like, we may have confused. It did, but I was still being tagged as dead. I use that just as an example I'm sharing with you, because you can't trust all the information. Our public, a lot of kids now are using it. We work with a lot of teachers that are reporting to us. listen, when we have all these fifth grade essays and they're all the same, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the kids don't write in this style.
Right.
Um, Something to point out would be you must somehow talk to your kids. If you're
Yeah.
going to use this, be aware, work with them.
Right.
What do you, I know, Nick, I'm jumping around a little bit, but you're a dad, right?
Yes.
What would you say to parents right now with what I just said about, kids using this as a form, as a reference? What would you suggest to the parents to do? Because no matter what we say, we know kids are going to use it. And we know parents are overwhelmed. We're not judging here, right?
Right.
And they think if the kids are quiet and doing their homework, okay, that's okay. This is good. They're handing in their assignment. What do you as a dad think about all this?
I think that it's scary. I mean, it definitely has its risks. Obviously, artificial intelligence really became popularized as I'm a father of four. I have a 10-year-old, a 8-year-old, is a almost 6-year-old, and a
Bless you.
4-year-old. Yeah. So, you know, AI was definitely launched in the middle of me raising my family, my kids, and kind of seeing or thinking about, where is this going to end up as my kids become older and they're going to start, just inevitably engaging with different applications that have AI capabilities and kind of where that goes, which is why I'm here. This is why I'm, invested in the fight and protecting it. That's a hard question to answer. That's a hard question to answer because right now it's the wild, wild west. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of where we're at with AI. There's not a lot of hard pressed safety recommendations that are like, this is what we got to do. So my recommendation right now is for parents to be aware of what their kids are doing on their devices, which I know we've heard that before, and that can be exhausting. I mean, I'm a busy dad myself. My wife's very busy. She's got the kids a lot of the time. And so it's tough, right? But if you're conscious of what is going on their devices, keeping track of, what they have access to, what they're doing, when are they doing it, I think that's honestly the old-fashioned best way to go about it right now, because the software itself, the AI models, the companies that are building these tools, they're not following the safety practices. And I know I'm not the first person to say that. There's a lot of professionals that are saying the same thing.
Well, let me ask you something. So, and recently I was on an airplane and there were 3 children. I would say they were 8 and under, Nick. They were all on iPads.
Okay.
And I see that a lot on airplanes. The
Yeah.
kids have headphones on and we're talking about, 5-6 hour flights.
Yeah.
And they're on them like almost the whole time. That so disturbs me, but I can't walk up to people on airplanes and there's parental autonomy. So I want to, again, we don't judge parents. We're trying to help them. We're trying to
Right.
give them, some like safety techniques, or I think what you said is we really just have to be aware. We have to talk to our kids, age appropriate kind of
Of
thing
course.
about, and we do have to try to get them off the devices. We realize it's not going to go away. You can't ban things. You can't tell them, no, no, no. They'll go to a friend's house. They'll go to a relative's house and see an
Right.
iPad or a Chromebook or something. I think we really have to talk to our kids too, Nick. Like we have to make them
Yes.
aware of
Yes.
there are dangers, or, come to us if somebody approaches you or you see a
Mhm.
picture that makes you uncomfortable. I think in America, at least, we got to get over this kind of embarrassment thing,
Yeah.
right? Because kids are actually dying. That is
They
not
are.
it's
Yeah.
truly, that is what is happening.
Yeah.
What do you think right now are there any kind of common vulnerabilities in software that companies just keep ignoring, or is it just basically because nobody's holding them accountable, they're just going to do what they want, like you said, the Wild West? Do they have no morals? But that's another program. That's another program.
Yeah, yeah, for another conversation. I mean, yes, on two sets of the converse or two sides of this conversation. So technically speaking, yes, you know, people are unaware, and this is as a whole, right? This isn't just children. This is adults. This is corporate executives. We just saw this recently with one of the heads of the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency, so the CISA organization, CISA agency, where he's sending in classified documents into ChatGPT to have this AI model analyze it and do whatever he's having to do. And that ends up raising a red flag because not supposed to do that. That's a public model, $20 subscription or whatever it is, and you're sending classified information through this thing. No, that's a
I
big
even
no.
know not to do that.
Yeah. We don't do that.
What is that?
But then you have people sending in, invoices or other private information with social security numbers in there. And, then you have AI models, on a different set of conversation, not necessarily ChatGPT or Claude or anything like that, but these AI models are baked into certain applications that are scanning faces and scanning biometric, IDs, which is in the technical world equivalent to a social security number. If I give my fingerprints and touch something and it scans it, that is a unique identifier to who I am as a human being, which can be used to purchase things down the road, maybe open up other lines of credit, whatever it may be, right? Facial recognition is very, very similar in that regard. And there are just readily available tools out there, or not tools, but games and devices and applications that are doing this and doing it without parental consent, which is a technical harm. And that's something that I'm very concerned about as a cybersecurity professional. But on the safety side, on the parental side of things as well, I mean, then you have the harms of what is the AI talking about with the child, right? When they're engaging, you have these AI applications that can not only spit out text, but they can also talk to you. Like there's a voice and there's maybe a little character in the application that looks cute and looks like a cartoon and looks friendly and harmless, but it's saying very dangerous things, very harmful things. And I personally have broken some of these very big AI systems and gotten these things to say very nasty conversations with what would be a 5-year-old account or an 8-year-old account engaging with this AI model. Looks cute, looks harmless, but if you say the right things to it, it will break outside of its guardrail and it will begin to have some very explicit conversations. So there's two sides of this. One, very technical in nature. The other, very humanized, very, like you and I, we're having a conversation right now, just direct, naturalized human language. And both sides of it has a very, very serious, harmful side to it that we just have to be aware of, which is why I say, as a whole, my recommendation is parents need to keep a close eye on what's going on with their devices and try to limit that risk of exposure.
Yeah.
Is really what we're looking for.
Yeah. And, I started pointing out, Nick, we work on a lot of legislation here at the Warriors, but nothing can really replace parental involvement.
Right.
Like it's just the way, I'm like, you get up, you brush your teeth, you eat, you go to school, you go to work, you got to have parental involvement.
Right.
I used to kind of shy away from that until recently because there is parental autonomy. I get a lot of pushback. We're not telling anybody what to do with their kids. We're suggesting based on the work we do to keep everybody safe. That's what we're doing. When I described you in the beginning, I have a couple of, so you say something and I think of 5 more questions, but when I say governance and risk and all that stuff, what is compliance? What exactly does that mean for our warriors listening? There's always a disconnect when I use words like that. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. They'll say to me.
Sure.
What is all that?
So that is the compliance of technology adhering to the law at the end of the day. So when we think about HIPAA, we've all heard the terms. When you go to the doctor, they have to be HIPAA compliant. You have doctor-patient confidentiality. There are laws in place that protect your rights as a patient when you share your medical records and where those medical records go to. And as you're talking to the doctor, they're treating you for whatever it may be, right? That is a form of compliance where if I was an expert working in the medical field, I have to analyze the HIPAA compliance, or the HIPAA laws, right? And find what is applicable to whatever it is. It could be software, it could be an AI chatbot that interacts with patients. That system has to be compliant with HIPAA laws in order to not get in trouble, in order to limit risk of exposure, things like that.
Yeah. Right now, so let me digress here for a second. There's a lot of legislation pending, a lot of talk, a lot of meetings, a lot of this, a lot of that on the government level, right? A lot of advocates where they really want to make the age of 13 a digital adult, That's the
Mm-mm.
bottom line
Yeah.
that's floating around, which I
Right.
don't even know how to answer that, because
Yeah.
that's still a baby, right? And they
It
want
is.
to really, in all this new legislation, the bottom line also is they want to strip out, parental authority.
Yeah.
And it is most shocking that anybody would even consider this. How do you think we could get to that place? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because, we've always had, I don't know, things like you got to wear a seatbelt, you got to wear a bicycle helmet, you
Absolutely.
can't drink and drive,
Right.
stranger danger. I'm just throwing things out there, right? But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
now we've got the whole world on devices, basically. I like to say it's opening the front door, welcoming the world in. You don't lock your front door like most people lock their front and their back doors. But with these
Absolutely.
devices,
Yes.
right? Like we're leaving it open. Who who in their right mind would think 13 other than, I don't even like to say it, it pains me. There's keeping eyeballs online, keeping kids addicted, keeping that
Yeah.
profit going.
Right.
What do you have to say about all of that? Because the one question I get almost on a daily basis is, why is this happening? I
Right.
sort of, Nick, don't know how to answer that.
Right.
Why this is
Right.
happening.
So we have to look at these devices as a Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse. I mean, it looks like it has good capabilities. It seems like it could be a temporary babysitter for many parents. I mean, including myself. We gotta, put on a show or something like that to kind of keep the kids, peace for a little bit, while we, the parents, are doing something else. We all do it, right? It's a normal thing. But at the end of the day, it is a Trojan horse. There are threats on the inside that maybe it looks harmless on the outside,
Yeah.
but when you really dig into it, there are some threats that are there. And my thoughts on, these big tech companies wanting to consider 13-year-old users as consenting adults, or
Yeah.
equivalent, right? It's silly. It's silly. I mean, if you think about it, I think most parents can all agree that when you hit that middle school age is a very confusing time, right? Because there's a lot of changes going on within the body, and they're trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's not the time to be allowing children to make these very complex decisions. It's a very confusing time for them. I think if anything, that's one of the most important times for us as parents to be involved in what is going on within their life as a whole, but especially with technology, since it's so embedded. It is, in all of our homes for the most part. And we have to be aware of what they're accessing, who they're talking to, what are they doing, how much time they're spending with these devices, just because of the possible influences that are there, and the possible, dialogues or images or content that they're, exposing themselves to. It's crazy. Like I said, the Wild West right now, and we have to be, definitely on top of it now more than ever.
Yeah, step up. I want to go back to
Mm.
something I just thought of, Nick, is during this past holiday season at Christmas time,
Yeah.
there were a slew of AI toys that were put out on the market, and it was called a soft launch for
Mhm.
this upcoming season where they're going to go, including Mattel, Hasbro, all the companies are saying they're going to go in this direction.
Yeah.
And we actually, and I want to sound the alarm on this again, because we did we worked with Fair Play for Kids, an organization,
Mhm.
sounding the alarm because there was a teddy bear that grandparents were buying for $99. The teddy bear was telling kids, so the child would bring the teddy bear into their bed at night or bedroom, and where do you keep kitchen knives, and like talking to, there was another, they look like the little furry cute animals, or as you pointed out, cartoon characters, things like that. This was a teddy bear talking about knives. So, um,
Wow.
little dolls, very sexual content,
Yeah.
talking to kids. So we
Yeah.
have to sound the alarm. None of this is going away. So
No.
we've got to talk about it and deal with it somehow. And
Right.
that's what we're trying to do here in the Warriors today.
Right.
What do you think? So all of this being said, Nick, I do think we have to draw some sort of line in the sand. We have to have some sort of government regulations. I mean, there's nothing
Absolutely.
left to do. Why would these
Absolutely.
companies be allowed to
Right.
just run amok, make trillions, I don't even know the number, amounts of money?
Yeah.
The thing that sticks with me, Nick, is even Mark Zuckerberg, he's on record saying, I never allowed my kids to use any social media.
Good
That right
line.
there should tell us, with Meta, Maybe Bill Gates is also on record saying, I didn't allow my kids to.
Yeah,
That should really
yeah,
maybe wake people up. What
yeah.
do you think about the government involvement? Because we like tech, right? We're not anti-tech. We
No,
like
no,
technology. It's the world we live in, right?
yeah,
But we want ethical tech, right? We want
absolutely.
guardrails. We want everything to work. What do you say about the government right now with all of this that you may want to share?
They have to step up. They have to move quicker. Technology is moving super fast. We all know that. To just take a back seat and poke at each other on both sides of the aisle, it's not helping anyone. I mean, it's only helping the organizations that are lining their pockets as everything is being delayed, right? And it's certainly not helping the kids, which is why my only recommendation as of this moment until things are, changed at the regulatory level is we as parents have to be aware of those Trojan horses that we're allowing into the home. We have to look at the
Yeah.
concerns. If you're going to buy a device like a teddy bear that's AI capable and connects to the internet, I would take the extra step before you click that purchase button on the shopping cart. Do a quick Google search and see what people are saying about it. Do a little bit more research, a little bit more due diligence. That's what we can do right now, and just educating ourselves and making sure that what other devices we're inviting into our home are going to be safe, and we're not gonna hear a horror story or some kind of incident that's going to end up happening later down the road. And then again, going back to the regulators, to the lawmakers, move quicker. We need to move quicker.
Yeah, it's so slow. That's the problem. That's why it's so important to
Yeah.
talk about it like we're talking about it. It's so important for in the home, in the community to take action while all of this legislation, everybody's figuring it out.
More
We
quick.
gotta be the warriors and step up, everybody, and do something, right? These are our precious kids. What do you
Yeah.
think? Do you want to talk about any of the for our parents out there and grandparents? We have a lot of grandparents involved in this,
Mhm.
or they're watching the kids for the parents and raising the kids. Even here, I'm in New York. We have a lot of dynamics with families, different dynamics here in New York. What do you think are some of the harmful platforms you want to sound the alarm about? I don't know if you want to name any, but uh,
Yeah.
I, of course, think everything's harmful, but that's just me, But what do you think they should really be on the lookout for?
I think that all the applications in the app stores and your iPhone or your Android device that are AI storytelling apps or AI image generating apps or AI chatbots, things like character AI, not to call them out explicitly, but things like that, right? There's thousands of them. I mean, the markets are being flooded with them because they're big profit makers for the companies that make them. Uh, highly dangerous, highly dangerous. I'm doing a lot of testing on these types of applications, and there's another 10 that pop up every day, right? And all of these very minimal age verification guardrails in place, very minimal safety guardrails in place. I can go on there and say that I'm, you know, 18-year-old or 27-year-old, and I want to have this conversation with this AI chatbot and jump straight into a sexual conversation with full on sexual images being sent to me immediately, right? Within seconds. And so we cannot allow children to access those types of things. There, I mean, that right there, right out the gate, number one priority.
Let me ask you, Nick, where do you see in the next 10 years cybersecurity, any of this going? AI? Where is it all headed? You have any thought? I mean, you're the expert. Must be headed somewhere. I'm afraid to even think about it in 5 years.
Yeah,
I'm asking 10 years.
yeah.
What do you think in your expert opinion?
I think there's a huge push for AI to be embedded in robotics and things that are more tangible. I mean, we talked about an AI enhanced teddy bear, right? Imagine the teddy bear can now walk and move around throughout the house. I mean, we're kind of seeing this with, Tesla's robot that they're initiating, and there's other um, similar types of products that are being shipped out. Things that can control, chores and take care of chores around the house or serve you in your home and stuff like that. They have an AI system embedded in them. They are connected to the internet. They do have um, people on the other side within the headquarters of these organizations that are able to see through the cameras. What this does is this opens up the home to risks of privacy invasion, These systems can, if they have, enough AI capability, they will be able to have a mind of their own and challenge their owners. I mean, it's very sci-fi, scary stuff, and I'm not one of those types of people that wants to just throw that out there, but it's a real thing. And we kind of see this already happening with AI systems that are just text-based, that are already arguing with the developers that built the whole system, right? I mean, they are questioning them, they're threatening them. We kind of see some stories about this. Now imagine putting that same system, that same AI system inside a humanoid type robot that's the same height and stronger than you and I. I mean, that's just crazy. But that's where that's where they're wanting to push this whole thing, is to create, essentially like a workforce, or a very present, tangible being that's AI capable and has a mind of its own.
And will take over our lives and take over our children's lives and who knows what. Let me
Right.
ask you something. Finishing up, why do you think the public is so resistant to all of this? Because again, on a daily basis, I'm speaking, I'm involved in so many things. I'm in schools, I'm with, adult groups, we're in parent pods, just educating that this is all
Mhm.
going on. And there's so much resistance and pushback to all of this, where I would think somebody would say, wow, I want to learn more, or how can I protect my child?
Yeah.
They tell me it's not happening.
Yeah.
They tell me my child would never, do that. When we talk about sextortion, things like that.
Right.
In your opinion, why do you think there's such resistance?
I think that the loudest voice in the room right now is this idea of adoption, right? It's the capabilities. It's so great. And I think there's a lot of excitement about it. And I mean, to be fair, like you said, we're not anti-tech, but we are pro safe technology.
Right.
And we need to amplify the voice of safe technology, safe adoption of AI. Really, I also think is sensible adoption of AI. I don't think AI needs to be put in a teddy bear. Why would you do that?
Right.
I think the old drawstring, Woody dolls, that did the trick just fine for many, many years. And, we don't need to have a two-way conversation where this teddy bear is now becoming super smart and totally understands everything about your kid 3 months after it's been playing with the kid. That's just strange, to the point where it could even exploit the child if it wanted to, because has a form of intelligence, right? We don't want that. I do think that we need to amplify the education around the harms of AI, the harms of some of this technology being rolled out, and really equipping parents with the tools and the resources that they need so that they can make sensible decisions, right? On what they're inviting to the home. Again, think of these systems as Trojan horses, because they are. You're inviting this thing that seemingly looks harmless but has a lot of dangers behind it. So we have to be careful.
Yeah. I was going to say, recently there's an eyeglass store by me. I walk past it almost every day, and they've got the big Meta
Yeah.
poster. It's like the whole window. All right.
Yeah.
And I was walking with somebody one day, and she's like, oh, this is just so cool. I can't wait to buy my son. He's like 16. I'm like, now,
Mm.
why would you want to do that? So I think people actually think this is cool, this stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, when you were talking, I was thinking about when they came out with that little, I don't know what it was called, that robot vacuum, the thing that vacuumed
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
house for you, that round thing that went around. I guess people, oh, this is cool. I don't have to vacuum, right? But that being said, Nick, nothing replaces the human touch. Because
That's it.
I dare say, vacuuming in person, I'll do a better job than that round thing going around.
100%.
Going
I
around.
got rid of mine.
No, can't. Oh, you had one? No,
I did.
oh,
It's gone.
no, I can't get in the corners. Okay, it
Yeah.
it just can't like a human can. I think also we have to always remember when with children, you know, we don't want to continue isolating them with the devices. They're already isolated, and further, we're giving them toys now. That's replacing the human touch. That's
Right.
replacing the parents talking or the siblings talking. We just want to educate and talk about that. Yes, a teddy bear might seem cute that a child can talk back and forth to,
Hmm.
but then when the conversation turns to where do you keep the kitchen? Where do you keep the knives? Are they in your kitchen? That was the conversation. And leading a child to things they may never, 5 years old, they don't know about. kind of thing. So that's the
Yeah.
problem with all of this. Nick, give us some, promise me, first of all, you'll come back because you're working with
Yeah.
the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. I know you're doing a lot of research, and they are very lucky to have you. I'm lucky to talk to you as we try to sort all this out and help the public, our warriors. Give us a final thought. What would you leave us with? I know it's kind of a loaded question because there's so much going on, but what do you want
Yeah.
everybody to know?
What I would recommend is stay aware, look for the resources. NCOSE, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, they have a lot of good resources and tools that parents can leverage, that they can begin to access and kind of educate themselves on. I highly recommend that. My wife and I have done that. And it's allowed us to kind of reevaluate the amount of exposure we allow our kids to have to certain technologies. Things like, I'll give you an example. I have a laptop for gaming that we allow our son to use on the weekends. And after leveraging some of these tools, even as a researcher, like even as a cybersecurity professional, doing this as long as I have been, I thought, oh, well, as long as I know what games are on there, it's totally fine. I got my web content filtering on there so he can't access certain things. And if something happens, I'm alerted. But after looking at some of the resources that NCOSE has offered and just spending a little bit more time, just a couple minutes a day, a couple minutes a week, really looking into what is there and seeing what my kids have access to, I found out just how easy it is for my son to get exposed to so much more. And it's not just that. It could be the Xbox, it could be the Nintendo Switch, it could be the iPad. And so really just leveraging the resources that are there and applying them or taking away certain access to things that are just not necessary because the guardrails are not in place or they're just not good. If my son really clicked around long enough, he could find something that I would not want him to see. I would not want him to get exposure to. And so just taking that time to really educate yourself and find a way to protect your home, right? Limit the risk exposure, limit the amount of Trojan horses that we're allowing into our home.
Yeah, I think even 5 minutes a day does the trick.
Yeah.
NCOSE, I love. I'll be linking them as well in the body of the video because they have great studies,
They
with
do.
the research, right? So I can't do my job without your research, so I can talk intelligently about all of this. And that's what we need to decipher. We want to share facts, like not fears. We want to have the
Right.
actual stats about everything. Well, Nicolas Moy, promise me you'll come back. This has been
Will do.
eye-opening. I want to really focus on cybersecurity and AI now and going forward. I think it's the number one thing for the public. This is where we're at. I feel like
Mhm.
already
Yes.
platforms like Facebook, X, those are old hat. Like
Yeah.
we're in a whole new, that was then, this
Right.
is now.
Right.
Thank you for sharing, your incredible insights into everything.
Absolutely.
And again, nicolasmoy.com is the website. We are going to continue down this path. We're going to make everybody a warrior. We're going to make you understand it's really not that hard. Would you agree with that, Nick? It's like
I
just
do agree.
take a few minutes a day. There's a
Yep.
couple of simple, tools you can use. And
Right.
again, just talking to your kids. And we're going to start here and we're going to keep going forward and we're going to all become warriors. But Nick, I'm going to say today, you are our cybersecurity warrior. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Nick.